1. Her regret is not instant, it's delayed. When she walked away, it didn't hurt her the way it hurt you. At least not immediately. Right now, she feels free, she feels confident, maybe even empowered. In her mind, she made the right choice. She believes she's in control of the story, that if she ever wants to, she could come back, and you would still be there waiting. And you, sitting in the silence, can't understand it. How can someone who once swore you were everything now act like you never existed? How can she smile, laugh, and move on so easily while you're left in pieces? But here's what most men don't realize. Regret is not instant, it's delayed. When someone leaves, they don't feel the loss right away. Why? Because they've already prepared for it. Women often detach emotionally, weeks or months before they physically walk away. By the time she left, she was already ahead in the grieving process. That's why she looks calm. That's why she seems untouched. But don't mistake that for victory. Her confidence is temporary. It's built on the belief that you're still hurting, still hoping, still orbiting her world. The moment that illusion breaks, the clock begins to tick. Regret doesn't appear while she's comfortable. It shows up in the silence, in the distance, in the heavy quiet that replaces your attention. At first, she's relieved by your absence. She thinks you've finally accepted it, but give it time. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly, something subtle shifts. Your name doesn't appear on her phone anymore. You stop watching her stories. You don't react, you don't chase, and you don't crumble. That's when the silence starts to echo. That's when she begins to feel it, not because you begged for her attention, but because you stopped giving it. Regret isn't loud. It doesn't come with tears or apologies. It comes quietly, creeping in when she least expects it. It begins the moment she realizes you're not waiting, that you've moved on, not out of anger, but out of strength. And that's why her regret is delayed, because it only arrives after she sees what she lost. A man who didn't just survive without her, but one who became untouchable. 2. The man you were versus the man you're becoming. She didn't leave the man you are today. She left the man you used to be, the version of you who doubted himself, the man who gave too much, too quickly, without boundaries, the man who didn't yet understand his own value. That's who she walked away from, and in her mind, that's who you still are. She believes you're frozen in time, stuck in heartbreak, watching her from a distance, waiting for the day she gives you another chance. That belief gives her comfort. It makes her feel powerful. But here's the truth. Heartbreak has a way of forcing transformation. Pain either breaks you or rebuilds you, and you've chosen the latter. While she's busy convincing herself you'll never change, you're already evolving into someone unrecognizable, colder, stronger, sharper, the kind of man she never expected you to become. This is where your advantage lies. You're not chasing her. You're not trying to prove your worth. Instead, you've gone inward. You've built discipline where there used to be weakness. You've replaced desperation with purpose. And every day you grow. You move further away from the man she remembers and closer to the man she'll never be able to reach again. Here's what she doesn't realize. The man you were before, the one who texted too often, who stayed available, who tolerated disrespect, that version of you is gone. He died the moment you stopped begging for validation. In his place stands a man who doesn't wait, who doesn't explain, who doesn't need her attention to feel valuable. And that's what shakes her ego. Because when she left, she thought she knew how the story would play out. She believed you'd spiral. But instead, you're rising in silence. You're leveling up so quietly that one day, she looked back and realized she didn't just leave you, she left a man who was on the verge of becoming everything she'll never find again. She didn't lose you when she walked away. She lost you when you chose to outgrow the version of yourself that once needed her. And by the time she sees it, it'll be too late. 3. Post-breakup silence is not weakness, it's pressure. She expects noise. She expects drama. She expects you to do what most men do: reach out, send long messages, argue, beg for closure, or at least try to prove you still matter. That's what gives her a sense of control. When you react, she knows where you stand. But when you go silent, everything changes. Silence is not weakness, it's pressure. It's the one thing she never prepared for. Because silence leaves her with no answers, no reassurance, and no proof that she still has power over you. At first, she tells herself, you're just holding back. She thinks she'll eventually break, but the longer the silence lasts, the heavier it becomes. She doesn't know if you're hurting. She doesn't know if you've moved on. and that uncertainty starts to eat at her. Because when she can't read you, she can't control you. This is where silence becomes your weapon. You're no longer giving her emotional reactions to feed on. You're no longer explaining yourself or defending your worth. Instead, you disappear into your own life. And that lack of access, that cold stillness, is what begins to shift the dynamic. Silence forces her to sit with her thoughts. It makes her wonder why you're not chasing her. It creates tension she can't resolve. Every day she checks her phone and sees nothing from you. That tension grows. And that pressure is not on you, it's on her. She'll start filling in the blanks. Is he over me? Did he find someone else? Did I misjudge him? And those questions will echo louder than any words you could ever say. Silence isn't about revenge. It isn't about playing games. It's about discipline. It's the decision to stop pouring energy into someone who walked away and instead use that energy to rebuild yourself. And here's the truth. Silence makes a man dangerous because it hurts her, but because it shows her you don't need her. That's when the power shifts. That's when regret begins. Because nothing is louder than a man who says absolutely nothing at all. 4. Time plus absence equals doubt in the beginning. She's confident. When she walks away, she believes she's doing what's best for her. She feels free, empowered, even relieved. And for a while, that belief protects her. She tells herself you'll always be there if she ever changes her mind. But time has a way of breaking illusions. At first, your silence feels predictable. She assumes it's temporary. She thinks you're simply hurting in private, waiting for the right moment to come back. That's what she's counting on: your patience, your persistence, your inability to let go. But then the days turn into weeks, the weeks turn into months, and something unexpected happens. Nothing, no messages, no subtle likes, no desperate attempts to remind her you exist, just silence. That's when doubt creeps in. Doubt is powerful because it's quiet. It doesn't crash in like anger. It seeps in slowly, in the quiet spaces of her day. When she checks her phone and doesn't see your name. When she scrolls her social media and finds no trace of you. When she realizes the man she thought was predictable is now a complete mystery. At first, she tries to fight it. She distracts herself, convinces herself you'll be back eventually. But the absence only grows heavier. And with that absence, the questions start. What if he's really over me? What if he's changed? What if I walked away from something I can never get back? That's the power of time plus absence. Together, they dismantle her certainty piece by piece. The confidence she had at the beginning starts to corrode. She's no longer sure she made the right choice. She's no longer sure you'd even want her if she came back. And here's the key. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to post, to prove, or to chase. Your silence does the work for you, because time doesn't just pass, it transforms. It turns absence into pressure, and pressure into doubt. And doubt is the first step toward regret. This is why patience is a weapon. You don't win by reacting. You win by staying still long enough for her illusion to collapse on its own. And when it does, it won't be you who suffers from it, will be her. 5. The cold realization hits when you don't come back at first. She doesn't believe your silence is real. She thinks it's a phase. In her mind, you're still the man she remembers, the one who would eventually fold, the one who would come back, no matter how far she pushed you away. That belief gives her comfort because it means she's still in control. But then, time passes. Days become weeks, weeks turn into months, and still, nothing. No late-night texts, no signs of weakness, no attempt to check in. And that's when the cold realization begins to creep in. It doesn't hit her all at once. It arrives in small, quiet moments. When she's out with friends and hears a song that reminds her of you. When she's talking to someone new and notices how different he feels compared to you. When she reaches for her phone to send you something funny and then remembers you're not there anymore. At first, she brushes it off. She tells herself it doesn't matter. But deep down, a question begins to echo. What if he's really gone? This is where regret begins to sharpen. Because up until now, she thought you were still orbiting her world. She thought if she wanted to, she could always reach back and you'd be there, waiting. But when you don't come back, you shatter that illusion. And that's what cuts the deepest, not just that you moved on, but that you did it without a word. You didn't fight. You didn't beg. You didn't even slam the door on your way out. You simply disappeared into a better version of yourself. One she no longer has access to. The cold realization isn't about missing you, it's about facing the truth that she miscalculated. She thought she had time. She thought she had options. But now, she has neither. That's when the weight of your absence hits her, not in anger, not in loud regret, but in the quiet, crushing understanding that the man she once had isn't coming back, and the man you've become wouldn't return even if he could. By the time she feels it, you'll be long gone, untouchable, unbothered, and unrecognizable. 6. Her ego wasn't ready for you to outgrow her when she walked away. She didn't expect you to collapse, but she also didn't expect you to rise. In her mind, you'd stay stuck, orbiting her memory, quietly hoping she'd come back one day. That's what her ego needed to feel secure. The belief that no matter what, she would always matter to you. But that's not what happened. Instead of staying where she left you, you evolved. You got sharper. You became disciplined. You turned the pain into fuel and used it to build a version of yourself that doesn't look back. And nothing shatters a woman's ego faster than realizing she's no longer the center of the story. At first, she won't admit it. She'll tell herself it doesn't bother her. But deep down, she notices. Maybe it's through mutual friends who mention how much you've changed. Maybe it's when she stumbles across your profile and sees the difference in your energy, calm, focused, untouchable. Or maybe it's just the silence. The fact that the man who once poured his world into her no longer even looks in her direction. That's when it hits. She's been replaced, not by another woman, but by your purpose, by your growth, by your new standard. Her ego wasn't prepared for that. She didn't think you'd stop needing her. She thought she'd always be your reference point, the one you'd measure yourself against. But when you outgrow her, you remove her power entirely. You make her irrelevant, not out of spite, but out of evolution. And here's the beauty of it. This kind of growth is silent. You don't flaunt it. You don't announce it, you simply become it. And the quieter it is, the more it unsettles her, because she has no way to stop it. She didn't lose you when she left. She lost you the moment you decided to stop being the man who needed her. And by the time her ego catches up, you're already miles ahead, living a life she can't reach, built by a man she never believed you'd become. Outgrowing her wasn't revenge, it was freedom. And nothing humbles her ego more than realizing she no longer matters to the man who once gave her everything. 7. Your focus shift is what wrecks her illusion when she left. She believed one thing with absolute certainty: you would still be watching. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, you would return your focus to her. That's how her ego survived the breakup, by holding on to the illusion that she still had a hold on you. But then something happened that she never expected. You stopped looking in her direction. At first it was subtle. You weren't replying instantly anymore. You weren't watching her stories. You weren't liking her pictures or sending little reminders that you still cared. And while she might have brushed it off in the beginning, over time, it became focus wasn't on her at all. Instead, you turned inward. You put that energy into yourself. Your mind, your body, your purpose, these became your priorities. And that's when everything shifted. Because when a man redirects his focus away from a woman and back onto his mission, something powerful happens. She feels it. Even if you don't say a word, your silence and self-discipline carry a different energy, one that makes her realize she's no longer the center of your world. And that's what wrecks her illusion. She thought you'd stay in orbit, spinning around her while she explored her options. But instead, you became untouchable. You no longer need her validation, her attention, or her presence. And that shift is devastating to her ego, because it forces her to confront a truth she never wanted to face. She's been replaced by your purpose. Now, every time she checks to see if you're watching, she's met with nothing. No reaction, no sign of weakness, no proof that she still matters. And that emptiness, that's what haunts her, because deep down, she realizes something she never thought she'd have to admit. You didn't just move on from her, you moved up. You became a man who doesn't just survive loss, he thrives because of it. Your focus is no longer hers to command. And the moment she feels that her illusion shatters and the regret begins. 8. You were a lesson, now you're a standard. When she walked away, she didn't see you as irreplaceable. In her mind, there were other men, other options, other paths that might make her happier. Maybe she thought she could find someone easier, someone less disciplined, someone who wouldn't challenge her. But time has a way of exposing the truth. At first, she's distracted. Maybe there's someone new. Maybe she's surrounded by friends who keep her entertained. But slowly, the comparisons begin because no matter how much she tries to move forward, every new experience is measured against the memory of you. And that's where regret starts to grow. You're no longer just an ex, you become a reference point, a standard. The man who gave her peace in chaos. The man who stayed grounded when she was uncertain. The man who didn't just tell her his worth, he lived it. Here's what she didn't expect. The farther she gets from you, the clearer she sees what she lost. And every time she meets someone new who doesn't measure up, the weight of that realization hits harder, not because she suddenly wants you back, but because now she understands you weren't just another man, you were the blueprint. That's what time does. It turns absence into contrast. It forces her to look at every shallow conversation, every meaningless connection, and remember the depth she once had with you. She won't admit it out loud. She pretends she's fine, but deep down, the lesson burns. And that's the beauty of becoming a standard. You don't have to prove it. You don't need her validation or her recognition. Your silence, your growth, and your refusal to chase make the truth impossible to ignore. You're not trying to haunt her, but you will. Not with anger or words, but with the quiet, undeniable reality that she let go of a man who can't be replaced. You were once a chapter in her story. Now, you're the book every other man will be measured against. And the worst part, none of them will match it. 9. The worst kind of regret. The silent kind. When most men think of regret, they imagine it being loud. They picture her calling, apologizing, or admitting she made a mistake. But that's not how real regret works. Real regret is quiet. It hides in the spaces between her distractions. It doesn't announce itself, it lingers. At first, she won't feel it. She'll stay busy, convincing herself she's fine. She'll smile for the world, post pictures, and pretend she's unbothered. But silent regret doesn't show up in the beginning. It creeps in slowly, without warning. It starts in small, private moments. Late at night, when her phone is quiet. When she's scrolling through old photos she swore she deleted. When she sees a glimpse of the man you've become and realizes she doesn't know you anymore. That's when it hits her, not all at once, but in waves she can't stop. The worst part, she won't tell anyone. She won't text you and confess. She won't admit it to her friends. Because regret in silence is pride mixed with pain. She feels it deeply, but she buries it even deeper, because saying it out loud would mean accepting she was wrong. And her ego won't let her. And yet, it's there. It shows in the way she hovers around your social media, but never interacts. In the random, meaningless check-in messages she sends, just to see if the door is still open. In the way she hesitates before mentioning your name, as if it still carries weight she doesn't want to admit. This is why silence is powerful. Because you don't need to hear her regret to know it exists. You'll feel it in the tension, in the shift of her energy, in the way she lingers but never crosses the line. Silent regret is permanent. It doesn't fade, because it never gets released. She holds onto it, and the longer she holds it, the heavier it becomes. And by the time she realizes how deep it runs, it's already too late, because you've moved on, evolved, and become untouchable. She's left with nothing but the weight of what she can never undo. The loudest victories are the ones you don't have to witness. Her silent regret will be one of them. 10. Your evolution was the consequence. She thought leaving was her power move. She believed that walking away would break you, that you would wait, spiral, or come running back. In her mind, you were a man defined by his attachment to her. But she was wrong. Her leaving didn't destroy you. It built you. It became the catalyst for a transformation she never saw coming. Because instead of chasing her, you chased something greater, yourself. This is the part most women never anticipate. They expect heartbreak to weaken you, but pain, when handled correctly, does the opposite. It sharpens you. It burns away the parts of you that were soft, needy, or uncertain. And it forges the man you were meant to be. While she was watching for a reaction, you gave her nothing. No angry messages, no attempts to win her back, no proof that you were suffering. Instead, you disappeared not into the darkness, but into discipline. And that's when the true consequence began. Because while she was out trying to fill the space you left behind, you were filling yourself with strength, with focus, with purpose. You stopped waiting for validation and started building a version of yourself that wouldn't even recognize the man she left behind. That's the price she never calculated. Not that you would hate her, not that you would beg, but that you would evolve so far beyond her reach that by the time her regret set in, you'd be untouchable. Your silence wasn't emptiness, it was construction. Your distance wasn't avoidance, it was growth. And now, your very existence is a reminder of what she lost, because you didn't just survive her absence, you thrived because of it. This is the ultimate reversal. She thought she ended the story, but all she did was ignite the beginning of your next chapter. A chapter she can't enter. Your evolution was never about revenge. It was about seeing yourself clearly for the first time. And that clarity became the consequence she never expected to face. By the time she realizes it, it won't matter. Because you won't be standing where she left you. You'll be too far ahead, too focused, and too strong to ever look back. Point 11. Regret grows in the quiet. Regret doesn't arrive in chaos. It doesn't show up in the middle of loud arguments, dramatic goodbyes, or emotional breakdowns. No, real regret lives in the quiet, when everything is still, when the distractions fade, when the noise of her social life dies down. That's when the silence starts to echo. And in that silence, she begins to think. At first, it's just a passing thought, your name crossing her mind for no reason. But over time, it grows heavier. She remembers small details, how steady you were when she was falling apart, how you didn't just listen, you understood, how you never needed to shout to be heard, because your presence spoke louder than words. In the quiet, those memories don't just visit her, they stay. She'll try to push them away. She scroll, distract herself, maybe even surround herself with new people. But nothing silences the one thing she can't escape, her own mind. And the more silent you remain, the louder that inner voice gets. This is the paradox of detachment. Your absence doesn't just remove you physically, it forces her to face what she lost without interruption. No texts from you to comfort her ego. No calls to remind her she still matters. Just space. Empty, undeniable space that grows heavier every single day. And here's the thing about silence. It doesn't just leave her wondering where you went. It makes her question herself. What if I was wrong? What if you really moved on? What if I lost the only man who actually understood me? Those questions don't disappear. They grow. This is why regret in the quiet is so powerful. It's not about revenge, and it's not about punishment. It's about letting time and silence become the mirror she can't avoid. Because eventually, she won't just miss you, she missed the version of herself that existed only when she was with you. And when that happens, her regret will be deep, unspoken, and permanent. Because by then, the man she's thinking about no longer exists. You've already outgrown him. That's the quiet victory. You didn't have to say a word. The silence spoke for you. 12. The power of emotional distancy. Emotional distance is not coldness, it's control. It's the ability to separate your worth from her attention and your peace from her presence. And nothing makes a woman feel the weight of her decisions more than a man who has mastered this. When she first left, she expected a reaction, maybe anger, maybe desperation, maybe proof that she still had influence over you. But instead, you gave her nothing. No emotional outbursts, no pleading, no visible pain. You didn't fight for her, you fought for yourself. That's what emotional distance really is. The refusal to let her see you break. It's not pretending you don't feel, it's choosing to keep those feelings from controlling you. And the moment you made that choice, everything changed. Because emotional distance is powerful for one simple reason. It creates mystery. She no longer knows what's going on in your head. She can't tell if you're hurting, if you've moved on, or if you've become someone who no longer cares at all. That uncertainty is what eats at her. At first, she tried to convince herself she doesn't care. She buried it under distractions and pride. But the truth is, the more distant you become, the more she notices. And the more she notices, the more she starts to feel the one thing she never expected: doubt. What if he's really over me? What if I don't matter anymore? That's when regret starts creeping in, not because you punished her, but because you removed her power completely. Emotional distance doesn't just protect you, it forces her to sit with herself. And here's the beauty of it: the less accessible you become, the more valuable you seem. You're no longer the man she once knew, the man who would have given everything just to keep her. Now you are rare, disciplined, and untouchable. This is why Stoic men win without lifting a finger. They don't beg, they don't argue, they simply detach. And that detachment doesn't just free them, it traps her in a cycle of questions she can't escape. By the time she realizes the full power of your distance, you're already gone. And she's left wishing she could reach a man who no longer needs to be reached. 13. Why her pride delays her regret. Her pride is the shield she hides behind. It's what allows her to walk away, post like nothing happened, and convince herself she made the right choice. But pride has an expiration date, and when it fades, regret takes its place. At first, her pride is loud. It fuels her confidence. She tells herself, "You'll come back." She believes she holds the upper hand, and because of that belief, she feels no urgency to face the truth. Why would she? In her mind, you're still orbiting her world. But this is where your silence and detachment begin to work. Weeks pass. You don't text. You don't call. You don't watch her every move. Pride starts whispering doubts she didn't expect to hear. Suddenly, her certainty isn't so strong. Her ego was prepared for you to break. It wasn't prepared for you to disappear. That's when the cracks form. She may still act unbothered on the surface, but internally, she begins to feel the weight of your absence. Her pride keeps her from admitting it, at least at first. She won't reach out. She won't confess. But every day that passes in silence forces her to sit with the reality she's been avoiding. You're not waiting for her, and that is where the delayed regret begins. Her pride stalls it, tries to suppress it, but it can't erase it, because no matter how high she holds her head, there comes a moment where pride collides with truth, and in that moment, she sees what she's lost, not the old version of you, but the man you became in her absence. And here's the irony. By the time pride finally breaks, it's too late. You're not the same man anymore. You've evolved. You've become distant, stronger, and untouchable. That's the cost of delayed regret. Pride may hold it back, but it can't stop it forever. Eventually, silence becomes louder than ego, and she realizes she didn't just lose you, she lost her chance to ever matter in your world again. 14. Detachment turns regret into respect. When you stop chasing, begging, or explaining, something powerful happens. The dynamic shifts. She no longer sees you as the man she once had control over. Instead, she starts to view you as a man she underestimated, a man who didn't just walk away, but outgrew her entirely. That's the power of detachment. At first, she may mistake your silence for weakness. She may think you're just playing a game or waiting for the right moment to come back. But as time passes and you remain steadicam, distant, and unbothered, her perception begins to change. Detachment is not anger. It's not bitterness. It's discipline. And discipline is attractive in a way she can't ignore. It forces her to confront a truth she never prepared for. You didn't need her to validate your worth. This is when regret starts transforming into something else, respect. She might not admit it out loud, but deep down, she begins to see you differently. You're no longer the man who would have done anything to keep her. You're the man who let her go without hesitation because your peace mattered more than her approval. And here's the thing about respect. It grows in the same silence that fuels regret. The less you explain yourself, the more powerful you seem. The less you react, the more she has to rethink the way she judged you. Your calmness becomes undeniable proof that you are no longer playing the same game. Detachment forces her to compare the man she left to the man you've become. The difference is undeniable. You're stronger, colder, clearer. You move like a man who has nothing to prove, and whether she admits it or not, that earns respect. Even if she can never have you again, she can't ignore the transformation. That's the paradox of detachment. It doesn't just make her regret losing you, it makes her see you in a way she never did before, not as someone she could control, but as a man she will never reach again. And that's when her regret becomes permanent, because now it's mixed with something far worse than longing, admiration for the man who became untouchable. 15. By the time she regrets it, your gone regret is slow. It doesn't hit her the day she walks away. It doesn't hit her when she's busy, surrounded by friends, or distracted by someone new. It hits when the silence stretches long enough to make her look back, only to realize you're no longer there, and that's the moment she never prepared for. She thought you'd wait. She thought you'd always be an option. Maybe she even believed that no matter how far she went, she could come back and find you standing in the same place, holding the same door open. But that version of you no longer exists, because while she was comfortable in her illusions, you were evolving. You were growing colder, clearer, and stronger. You were moving forward. You stopped hoping for her return and started building a life she has no access to. This is what makes her regret so heavy. It's not just about losing you, it's about realizing that you've moved so far beyond her that even if she wanted to come back, she wouldn't know where to find you anymore. You're not the man she left. You've become untouchable. And that's the part she never saw coming. Because for her, regret isn't just missing you. It's knowing she's no longer part of the world you built without her. She doesn't just lose you, she loses the version of herself that only existed when she was with you. But by then, it's too late. You don't need closure. You don't need answers. You don't even need her acknowledgement. Your silence was the answer. Your growth was the response. And now, she's left with nothing but the quiet realization that she underestimated a man who outgrew her in every way. This is the final stage of power, indifference. When her regret no longer matters because you're too far removed to care. You've already healed. You've already risen. And she's only now beginning to understand what she lost. By the time her pride breaks, by the time her regret floods in, you're not waiting at the door. You're gone mentally, emotionally, spiritually untouchable. And that's the greatest consequence of all.